All right, hello and welcome everyone. This is Odyssey of Eternity, and tonight we're going to be doing something a little different than we normally do. We are going to be having a fireside chat uh, and discussing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. This book has been, I don't want to say a pet project because that would refer affection to the book, but it's definitely been a project. Uh, I've ran this book 3 times, start to finish, and well, we'll get into our honest reviews of the book from both the player side and the DM side. I have our wonderful cast tonight here, has all members of parties that I've ran for who have played through this. Let's get through. Ladies first, if you'd like to give your brief introduction to yourself, just say hi.
Me?
Yeah.
Hi. um I'm Amber. I play D&D. Ken has been my wonderful DM for a few years now, and probably the reason that I stayed playing D&D. I almost gave up and then I didn't because I found an awesome group.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Ah,
All right. Next up, next in the row, Mr. Danny Boy.
Yeah, I just realized that my name is not mentioned. The character that I played.
I should change mine to the character that I played. Let me do Icewind
There we
Dale.
go. All right, so this will catch up in chat. So my name obviously is Kelly. As you can see, I played Artemis Leon, the gunfighter, singular gunfighter in this newest run of Ken's, which was a lot of fun. He was kind enough to let me bring in basically kind of like the homebrew of, as we all know from Critical Role, let me bring in the gunslinger, which I have been dying to play. Whole lot of fun, and of course played him like a southern person, because why not? Southern and guns. I think that works and goes hand in hand together. But yeah, he has been my DM for 1 game, and then turned into 2 games, then turned into 3 games, then turned into 4 games since I started going into his games almost a year ago. Not that I think that he's a great DM or anything, right? Yeah.
Baka.
So
Fuck.
so that's me. I've only actually been playing D&D like really only for a few years. I think 4 or 5 years. So I don't know, but I'm nerdy, so I love it. Um, yeah, that's all I got at the moment.
All right. How about you, there, Mr. J? Would you like to?
Mr. J. Yeah, I've played in 2 of the 3 Icewind Dale games you've ran, I believe. And yeah, I'm Jask. I've been playing D&D since forever. I don't even know. I mean, in high school, I would literally our lunch class was cut up into 3 different sections. So like, if you had A lunch, you would go to lunch and then go to class after lunch. But if you had B lunch, you would go to class. Halfway through class, you would stop. You would go to lunch and then go back to class. And then C lunch was you'd go through class, and then at the end of class, you would go to lunch. I had D lunch, all the above. I would skip that class, go to the library, and I would run D&D out of the back of the library. And in Ken's campaigns of Icewind Dale, I played Spunk Vinegar, a kobold who was uncomfortable. Diocles Paramano of the Spiral Path, who was Himbo Heart of Gold, and then Nobody Somebody, who lasted a session.
And still broke the hearts of the party.
Yeah,
So upset.
yeah, their whole thing is heartbreaking. I love them so much.
Yeah, that was a great character.
Yeah, I'm playing them again in another campaign here soon.
Oh,
Nice.
your poor table.
Yeah.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Schneidy. You want to introduce yourself real quick? The people watching at home.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy, and I've been playing with Ken for a little over a year now. And I played in this recent Icewind Dale campaign with Kelly, and I played Calyx Frosthold, who was, you could say, a really cloistered wizard. Like, pretty much had no idea what went on in the outside world. They had to spell it out for me. There was a pen and an inkwell and some other stuff. But yeah, so it's great to be here.
Great to have you. All right, so as me, the DM, I have ran this book 3 times. My honest opinion of it, the beginning of it, absolutely amazing. The first chapter, levels 1 through 5, up until the point. Well, but first off, let me get away. There will be spoilers in this post. So if you don't want any spoilers for the campaign, please turn back now. Come back to this video once you're done with it. But before I get too far, there we go. That's my spoiler warning. But I think the book should have ended after the Citadel. I think that was a more natural place for it. I think it should have been an intro adventure, like Waterdeep Dragon Heist, going into something else.
Yeah.
After the oral Citadel, or do you mean after the
Dwarven Citadel, where right, like the whole dragon comes to 10 towns. I think that would have wrapped up the story there. You just defending the dragon that's coming, like defeat that arc there. I think that would be a more natural place for it to end, rather than having a few artificial just continuations.
I mean, personally, I kind of enjoyed shooting a god in its face with something named Pandora. It felt right.
I mean, it was fun dunking on the god, but, like...
We really dunked on the god.
It wasn't fun getting to that point. Well, so, like, it wasn't fun from, like, the book way. I mean, the players made it fun.
Right.
But, like... It relied, I think, too much on the players making it fun to be fun.
It almost felt tedious in a way that, like, I don't like D&D to feel.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it earlier today. I was trying to like pinpoint like what could have gone wrong with the book. And what I think what it was is this is the first book since Tomb of Annihilation that really focused on survival.
Yes, and it also came out during the pandemic.
Yeah, and like Tomb of Annihilation did survival really well. You had you better get that mosquito spray. Don't forget to... actually, that's a good question. Real quickly, just a quick aside. Does my zombie need mosquito spray?
Do
you have blood?
Kinda?
We'll figure that out when we get to that.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that just popped in my head. But like, but with Tomb of Annihilation, they did it in a way that's fun, and that like you could properly prepare for. Like, oh, I'm going into a jungle. I need mosquito spray. I might want a boat. Maybe I might want rope and stuff. But with Icewind Dale, it's like, okay, well I've got the cold weather gear. Oh, a blizzard has hit? Well, there's literally nothing we can do. We're just going to have to bunker down.
Yeah. And the amount of rolls for, like...
Fairness, when you're in, like, Arctic-type weather, that is what you do. You've got your cold weather gear. If a blizzard hits, you tent up and you just endure.
Right. And I get that that's a realism thing, but like it's D&D. It's not meant to be fully realistic. You also have to take into account what's going to be fun for the players. It's not going to be fun for the players to be on a mission and then suddenly have to dead stop because a blizzard has hit.
But it does.
It turned into like
it doesn't allow for role play though. So
it does.
Good...
I think that ties back though to the players making it fun versus the contents making it fun.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah.
The tediousness of stopping.
Yes.
Is it
I
the
felt-
difference of choosing to stop, being forced to stop?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or being forced to stop, but in a way that didn't halt the session. Like what ended up happening would be is our session was rolling. The players, we were making our choices. We were on our way to, from point A to point B, and we were on a roll. Everybody was in the zone, and then we would have to, by the content of the book, be forced to stop or be forced to like handle a survival check, and it threw the roll that we were on kind of to a dead stop.
So note to everybody that's out there, everyone, when you play this game next time, everyone play a Goliath, and you'll be fine. And Goliath with cold weather gear, you'll be good to go. And
Well, so the thing is that like I had a Goliath who was like he was completely ready to just like, oh, everybody pile up into a wagon, we'll cover the wagon, I'll start pulling. But if you're in those blizzards, you actually have a chance of getting lost.
yes.
Yeah,
So like even if you're immune to like the cold weather effects, you're still going to get lost.
Yeah.
The only choice is to hunker down and wait.
And the thing is too is that they're technically considered magical blizzards because it's all Oral's domain. And so even a ranger whose preferred territory is there is still going to get lost.
That's what I was gonna ask. That's what I was gonna ask next. Yeah.
Like the book is designed in such a way where, honestly, the wintry effects, after a while, the party can completely bypass. Like they become completely irrelevant to even run as a DM unless you want to mildly annoy your party or artificially lengthen the session. Like,
here's a blizzard. Better spend that control weather spell slot.
Yeah. Honestly,
But also doesn't that also makes the party choose between spending a resource.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and if it was done properly and well, it would have been a really neat mechanic. I just feel like it felt like filler that they were like, okay, we need to have a little bit more depth to this. Let's just, you know what, Winter Blizzard, here's some rules slapped together for it.
Yeah, for me as a DM, it felt like this, and I've actually met with and had lunch with several authors in Dungeons and Dragons at world events and stuff like that I've been to, and I've got to pick some of their brains about it. Not about this, but other books like Tomb of Annihilation. I was able to sit down and have a conversation with one of the authors that helped with that, and it was really, really like inspiring and seeing what it was. But for this one, it just didn't feel like they had the editing time. They didn't have the review process that they normally do. But that's also comes from being a product of the pandemic hit right as they were trying to do the playtesting. And so I think a lot of this book suffers from just that, is that they didn't have the proper playtest group to be able to properly run it. And Big Daddy Hasbro still said, hey, you have to put these out on our schedule.
Because I don't want to say that it's a bad book or it's a bad story.
No, absolutely not.
To recognize and understand that there could have been, like, had it been play tested properly, it could have been a lot better. And as players, our input could have been, pretty useful.
Yeah.
Into refining it.
Like,
I will say, I haven't played a lot of the official campaigns to full, but it is my least favorite one I've done so far.
Yes.
I had a great time.
I had a great time. I had a great time, but again, it was because of the players.
Yeah, it came down to the players, and I had to... So, you guys were actually... So, the perspective's also different between Amber and Jask to, like, Artemis and...
Right, because several times you told us that we're the reason why the other players are going to have a better time.
Yes, because you guys were my test group for the book. You guys were the very first group when the book dropped. I started running it the week of the book dropping. And so I got to test a lot of mechanics, a lot of things, and I had to rewrite a huge chunk of the book for my start playing run through.
But isn't the whole thing though of what makes an adventure either better or worse or amazing, really it does come down to the players. The DM can put in all the amount of work that they want. They can
Well,
be great with the storytelling. They can be on the level of you throw in like a Matt Mercer. It doesn't matter. Like, and they can put it in there. If the players don't buy in, if the players don't
Oh,
role play,
absolutely.
they don't play the game is gonna look. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
No one is gonna have fun.
Well, and I'm
So-
not saying that it's I'm
But-
just saying it relies too much on the players to make it fun.
But D&D in general does rely on the players.
Yeah,
to
I'm
make
not saying that other campaigns don't. I'm saying that this one did it too much.
Oh,
When we look at the context, the books that are being published for DMs to use in their stories and in their gameplays, even incredible DMs can look at a content book and be like, this is frustrating, because there's going to be things that a DM, has to adjust that should already be adjusted in the book had it been play tested properly. Or like, a DM can say, I think this is going to be really good for this group of players, but not necessarily really good for this particular group of players.
Yes.
So of course, D&D is always going to rely on the DM and player
Dynamic.
cohesiveness. Exactly. But when we're analyzing a book, we do have to assume that the book is going to hold its own regardless of how the players act.
Yeah, to some extent. Like again, I'm not saying that no book should be relying on the players at all. I'm saying that this one did it just a bit too much.
Right.
Are all three of you DMs above me? So
Yes.
I think, okay, so I'm just a player. The only time I have ever done any DMing, it was for a friend and her 12-year-old daughter. So, Maddie, So, and I've only done Dragon of Icespire's Peak, which just came out, I think, like earlier this year.
Yeah, it was pretty recent for that
and-
one.
And even that, I think was something a little too far for me to start. I should have started with something a little smaller and a little easier. But with that said, so I look at this completely from a player aspect when I look at the adventure. And I look at it, so we've got the DM here, we've got the players, and to me, the adventure was great. There were dragons, there were dungeons. I mean,
one of the few actual adventure with dungeons and dragons.
We had a kaiju fight. I mean, we literally had everything that I wanted in an adventure. I got to shoot somebody's hand off. I mean, what? And so here, to me, it's like we've got all these great players and these great role players in this game, and I'm like, this is an amazing adventure. I would probably run it again and play it again. And because of the fact that, one, I know the guidance that the DM is going to give, and he had said, this book's poorly written on some things. I have had to rewrite and I've had to change this.
Yes.
All right. I wouldn't have known the difference if you hadn't said anything. I would have had no idea. I was just playing along, and it was fantastic. So from a player aspect and a player really only aspect, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I would be interested to like more than just a sample size of our games. I would be interested to see players versus DM players who likes Icewind Dale and doesn't.
Yeah. Because that's a really good point too. That kaiju battle you mentioned, that was not in the book. I actually borrowed that from Prince of the Apocalypse, Out of the Abyss. Out of the Abyss has one little paragraph at the end of that book that's like, hey, if you would like the players to have something to do during X, Y, and Z, because I'm not going to give a spoiler for that book because we're not addressing that. Let them play as X, Y, and Z monster stat blocks while your characters are doing this ritual. So that way their characters, you're just not narrating an hour worth of chanting and blah, 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 blah. You're giving the players something to do. So I thought that was a great transition in Icewind Dale to add in, because the way you guys... so for those of you at home, they ended up contacting the ancient white dragon in Icewind Dale of Avalatrace, a very hard name to pronounce. Aventurus, yes, thank you. And they stole from her earlier in that campaign, and then,
which, by the way, I did not know because I wasn't the one that did it. I think it was.
It was.
It wasn't Vrask.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely Vrask. Yeah.
It was Vrask.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I've been trying to get him on here for this, and he's not answering me. So I don't know where you're at, Trevor. But
is that the one
anyways.
that had the horde that Spunk Vinegar also broke into to get the not Wand of Orcus?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And so they stole from it earlier in the game. They managed to they survived an encounter with the dragon that they had no right to survive. I made it end up just being a social chase encounter while doing everything in my power to scare the party that they had an ancient white dragon chasing them, which was great.
Wait, were we supposed to die if we encountered the party? And
Yes.
We ran away?
Yeah. It specifically states in there, Avitrace, if angered, will kill the party. Period.
So, white dragons are the most vindictive of the dragons.
And
they
territorial.
Will hold a grudge into the afterlife. And they're very territorial.
Did we actually anger it? Because put him back? I thought we put him back up onto the saddle.
You did, but then someone did something, on the way out, they said something in passing to it.
As a white dragon, even the smallest slight, and you're now a blood enemy for life.
Yep.
Me?
I think it was Vrask again. I think he said something about the dead guy on the back or something like that. I don't remember who said it, but someone said something that was... Because it had a trigger of its master that's on its back, the dead corpse. And you guys put it up, and then someone did something that was disrespectful to that corpse. Like they said something, or some action.
Was that nameless? Was that nameless?
It might have been, honestly. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been so long, I don't remember. But the dragon got pissed, and I didn't want the book to just end right there. So, yet again, a lot of those, I learned from the first group, a lot of these encounters are lethal. One of our friends, they ended up, one of the intro quests, you fight a mammoth, and the party was level 2 when they found this mammoth. Just gets gored. And then...
That was Diocles.
Well, it was, not Gare, but, what was Toboggan.
Yeah, Toboggan. Yeah.
It was Toby. He was getting gored, and so he's, impaled on the husk of this mammoth, just bashing this thing while he's impaled. And then you have Diocles, who, yet again, one of the most emotional moments I've ever encountered for a character death. He had this baby owlbear that this was his little child, and so he decided to take a hit for one of the actually it was Amber, your character, and he just looks at you, take care of my baby, and hands you this owlbear cub as he's getting impaled by the mammoth.
Literally what happened was Diocles went to shove Amber's character out of the way. Amber's character tried to shove Diocles back to take the blow instead, and he takes Diomedes, which is the owlbear, shoves him into Amber's arms to push Amber back as well, and goes, "Be good, take care of them," and then gets gored.
So use the shoving motion to basically...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
And then the murder mammoth of level 2, which...
Now, I do have a question. This is another book, but that's more emotional than somebody dunking their head into the water and it goes disintegrated and they lose it?
No.
I just want to ask.
I said one of the most emotional, not the most.
I was gonna say there's also nobody's death.
Yeah.
Aofer died. You guys made me cry in game.
I have made more people cry as a DM about fictional characters.
You make Solus cry all the time.
I am a I am a tough person. Like I am a tough individual.
Big strong baby.
Big strong baby. But holy shit. Like Icewind Dale, I went into Icewind Dale thinking that it was going to be like one of our previous campaigns. We went all the way through Avernus to level 20. And
we had a romp through hell.
We had a good time in hell. The thing though is like I was like, this is gonna be great. We're gonna go into Avernus, like we're gonna have a good, or we're gonna go to Icewind Dale. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be like Game of Thrones, but we're all on mushrooms, right? Like we're having a good time. And then like literally level 2, I watched my best friend Diocles get gored as he hands me his child, and I'm like, what the fuck, Ken?
Yeah, that was that was a turning point for your character. I think there was a very sharp mental decline in sanity for your character.
Especially because following Diocles is when I started playing Spunk Vinegar.
Right. Which was like it was like a flip.
It's also the separation of like the emotions between your character, what your character would do, because then that in turn also sparks the emotions which you feel. Because then you're like, oh wait, my character be sad. Wait, why am I crying right now? Why am I crying as I'm about to say these words? No, this is my, and you had this separation. Yes, and it bleeds over, and then you have emotions.
And a lot of that comes from is whenever a character dies in a campaign of mine, I do my absolute best to give them their moment, because that is for them. That is the good, because at early levels, players aren't going to be able to afford resurrection magic, or might not be readily available. I'm going to do my best, because people take a long time and craft characters really well. And to see at level 2 the character just get spattered in an emotional farewell while handing that off, I have to give that character justice. I have to give that player justice. Which is one of the reasons in my Discord I have the Wall of Fallen Heroes. Anytime a character dies, there can be that memory of that character that's forever put up there. And if you notice, anytime a character dies, the mood dramatically changes in the campaigns. And that's... I try doing that very intentionally as a storytelling aspect. Like, usually the next episode, or the rest of that episode, is a very somber affair. And I've been very blessed to have some of the greatest role players that I've ever met that actually make player death or character death matter. I've ran Adventures League for many years, and someone dies in Adventures League, or just leave his body, loot the body, and keep moving. Like, that's...
Right.
Yeah.
I think it does say something with, like, how, even though he was level 2, right, we had only just played a few sessions, the emotional connection that, as players, we had built with each other and with each other's characters was so strong that it wasn't just like, oh, he died. Like, we're only level 2 and he died. Like, he's going to make another character. It was like, oh my god, Diocles sacrificed himself. Look at my sweet himbo. He just did that thing. And, like, there was a very... it felt like a very real consequence to that. And I have my opinions on Icewind Dale, but the one thing that it did do really well is it solidified, like, the bonds you had to make in game, like in character, like you had to.
Yeah, that is not a campaign that you would survive if the party didn't mesh.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. What she just said, and then also, question though, did your two the characters that you're referring to, did they build the backstory together, or did they just kind of bond
completely
from like level
separate?
1 to level 2?
They bonded from first play.
That's even better. I mean,
it's very rare for me to make together backstories, just because of the way I formulate backstories in general. Which is, I go, here's a vague concept idea I had, and now as I'm forced to answer questions, it's being filled out.
Right.
And so one thing I want to talk about too is I actually removed some areas for the second and third playthrough. So for like your guys's, there is a Nautiloid, which is a Illithid ship that crashes into Icewind Dale. I removed that from my playtest with these guys. It was a TPK. Every playthrough I've had of it, but I absolutely love these illithids in there. They are gnome ceramorphids. So they're gnome illithids, so they're like 2.5 feet tall, like little Elmer Fuds with tentacles on their faces. But, like, that's where the first time I killed Birdie. That was, or not, or Aofer. That was, I felt bad about that one. Like, as a DM, that encounter left just a gross taste in my mouth to run. Like, just because it was so against the party. Like, this is one of those things, the party is drawn here as a level 4 to 5, like, what do you call it, like, adventure hook, and then just only to get slaughtered. Go ahead.
Since I don't know anything about that part of it, is it something that's a little more suited to a little higher level? So is it something you could like player hook it to after Oral is killed? Because I think we were level 8 around then. Or is it something maybe even after the very end, after I shot her hand off, and instead of ending there, you go in and then annihilate the...
Yeah, so that it would... So any time illithids are brought in, that is a high... Tier 2 to Tier 3 level play. And so the level that they send them to you and the amount of illithid creatures that are there, the players have either... The only option is to play it socially, which is what, honestly, it's meant to be played as. But players can't see tiny Elmer Fudd-looking illithids and not say something that would piss off illithids with a Napoleon complex.
So, I guess my question is, for a one-shot, Ken, to bring our characters back, the ship crash lands in Icewind Dale, we get called back, we're at, I think, level 12 or level 13 right now.
Oh, it would be an absolute wonderful, like, one-shot to do stuff like that. Yes, that would be a fun...
Well, are you familiar from... It's from, I think it's like 2nd edition, but Journey to Barrier Peak?
I'm not, no.
So doing something like Journey to Barrier Peak with that would be really cool. So Journey to Barrier Peak, what the whole story is, an alien spaceship full of high-tech stuff crash-landed forever ago, and it's buried in a mountain. And some of the systems have kicked back on, and now it's putting out robots. And your fantasy heroes get to journey into a crashed alien ship and start to handle tech that they don't understand, and like get laser guns and...
That's very reminiscent of Lost Laboratory of Qualish aspects of that one. Lost
Laboratory of Qualish has some Journey to Barrier Peak items in it. Like there's literally an item in it that's like Barrier Peak something, like insignia Barrier Peak. It's 5E's like we're making a nod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where I want to go back and like touch on, had this been play tested, I think that particular situation would have maybe moved a little further in the book.
Yes.
Like level 5's walking into that with like very minimal knowledge of how this works. Or like the spaceship or like the critters on it. Just like walking into it is a death trap. Like it's going in with the intention that some players are going to die, if not all players are going to die.
This is not Baldur's Gate 3. We don't have saves to go back through. Like we're playing with real characters.
Yeah. So the issue being like my character died because she said something stupid, which she thought was sweet, turned out to not be sweet. And it was bad rolls, just bad rolls across the board. So like unlucky.
Do you remember what you said?
I think I patted him on his head and called him a sweet boy.
You kept making reference that he was a small sweet boy and that he was so cute, and his little noodly tentacles on his face were just adorable when he Yeah, it was not a. You said everything wrong to an illithid that you could have said wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is like I already had I had a baby owl bear and I had a baby Arctic skunk, and I was just collecting all sorts of critters, and I was like, look at this little baby. I want to take it with me too. Wasn't a baby. He ate my brain. So
yeah, cracked it like a walnut. It was
just right open.
And and then because I knew you loved that character so much, I actually had to write in the ability for a resurrection magic area to be in the area, because there's nothing to bring characters back in that book, unless you get to be a high enough level to do it yourself. But
there's no going to a church and having a social interaction. No, it's you're dead, you're done.
Yeah,
new character.
I mean, brutal. This book is definitely one I would recommend for advanced DMs that have some experience under their belt before going into it, and then even then, just
go over it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure to change things you don't want to have happen or anything like that, or be prepared to like what if you did, where you're like, oh no, there's no way to revive this character that is very beloved. I will make a chance for that to happen. I would also say I wouldn't say, as much as I disliked the book, I wouldn't say don't play it.
Yeah, no, I would highly recommend.
If you can get together a good team, like a good group of players you know will enjoy the role play, and a good DM, absolutely.
If we look at the universe, right, the world that it is, that's cool as hell. Like this realm that is covered in ice and snow, that's like magically you can't escape it. Like the concept is there.
And it's also inspired by the Driz novels.
Yeah, I thought it was inspired by Empire Strikes Back. You know.
We did crawl into something like a tauntaun. Do you remember that?
Several times.
It literally became Spunk's MO, because we went back to fight the mammoth, and Spunk. Spunk Vinegar, his thing is instead of having grovel, cower, and beg, he has berate, insult, and make uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And at one point, using that ability, he told the mammoth that if it keeps attacking us, that he was going to crawl up its ass and make it suffer. And
he followed through.
The mammoth called his bluff, and Spunk does not bluff. He promises.
Right up there.
That fight alone was even funnier, because we had a.
He didn't realize you were being that anal about what you were speaking about.
Well, no, the greatest thing is Spunk, without going into too much gory details, Spunk fulfilled the promise, and then we had, while it was still alive, Bard ran underneath the mammoth and then used his ability, he was a swords bard, and did the knockback thing up and launched the mammoth in the air 10 feet, while the monk was right. No, he was a ranger or a monk?
I think he's a monk. Yeah, he was a monk, because there was the Flaming Skulls incident where he went Mach 10.
Yeah, and so here's the monk behind it, and the elephant lands on him, pushing Spunk further. And as a story progression for emotional growth of the character.
Yeah. And also that very much so set the tone for what Spunk was doing from then on. As soon as we got back to a town, he started welding fishing hooks to his armor.
Yeah.
Bud Spunk.
And it was not uncommon for Spunk to, because there's a lot of things in Icewind Dale that are bigger than a kobold and that are opportunistic hunters, and they're like, oh, a kobold, we're gonna eat that. If something opened its mouth and Spunk could feasibly fit himself inside, he would.
Yeah, there's a reason I didn't stream that one.
I will come back to that in a second. I do have a question. So there was a moment when we were on top of the crazy fish thing that threw like a bubble over us that we could like go through when we're going to Oral's Island.
Yeah, the whale.
That was rad. That was rad.
Yeah. Okay. The thing that we were passing by that said that like it had like a dark energy, giants, it was something.
Literally just fluff that they put in.
There was nothing.
Nothing there.
That was so stuck in my brain of like, oh my god, what's over there? I want to go over there right now. I want to go over there right now.
See,
I want to like. Find it all.
And that's the beauty of D&D and running these like campaigns. But it happens every campaign. There is a minor character. There is a description in the back of a background that's happening, and the players fixate on that.
Mother Bear.
Yeah, the Mother Bear. I had a Curse of Strahd campaign. In the very first chapter, there was an NPC that was crying in a building, and it was just literally a background character, to set the tone of the world. The party returned to that character every week to see what was wrong and what they could do to help this lady, because they thought she was an important NPC. And they searched the entire plane of Barovia for this woman's daughter who was missing. Trying to find this woman's daughter who was literally just a missing child that never showed... That was it. It was a half a sentence of a character that the party just sort of latched onto. And it's different things. And as a DM, it's really cool to see. Our Tyranny of Dragons campaign... It's all the woodland creatures. It's all that was the background creature because I was trying to fill time because you guys split the party. So I was trying to make each encounter that you guys had in the wood memorable. And I set a side character, and you guys latched onto that side character, and so now I have this entire half a notebook filled worth of side plot that's going off in the background that may or may not show up later in the campaign.
Well, that's what you get for bringing in Blue Jays, man.
I take that as a compliment when players do that. That I'm telling that much of a enticing story that a side character becomes a main character.
As a side note, if you had made them Cardinals, as a Cubs fan, it would have been worse because I would have wanted to destroy. I literally would have pulled what Styx wanted to do in that forest, and I would have burned everything down to kill every single Cardinal because this would have been a meshing of a player and a character together to burn the St. Louis Cardinals and their birds to the ground. Go Cubs. Anyway,
Styx says frequently, burn the forest, kill the rabbit.
So a couple of points I wanted to actually talk about as we're starting to run a little late. I do have to work in the morning, which is unfortunate. I got called in to work on a Saturday, which is okay. Story-wise, did you like the main overarching story?
Yes. Yeah, I did. The ending for defeating the goddess felt abrupt and awkward, almost.
It was the only good ending that was written in the book.
But I wouldn't say that it made the story bad. But I did enjoy the overarching story as what it was.
We had the best ending, but continue.
I think the concept, right? I get hung up on the concept. It's really cool.
Yeah.
The Ice Maiden, the spells that are on the land, the whole survival aspect. I think the story, when done right, is going to be really sick. I think now that you have done it 3 times and you know how different types of players are going to react to it and what to take out and what to add in, having a fully cohesive story and game is going to be really sick. As it stands, it needs work, but I liked it. I think it needs work, but I don't know.
It's a bit
It was unique. It was outside of what I would have traditionally played with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and like I said, it's my least favorite right now, but I also haven't done a whole lot of them. And we're about to get into Princess of the Apocalypse, which I've heard some things. So we'll see if it remains my least favorite.
So I've only gone through Icewind Dale one time, and it was this time. And I came in the middle of the book, I think level 4 or 5? I don't
Yeah, it was about then.
Yeah. So, first off, I have to say that everything was a lot of fun. We got to take over an entire like dungeon castle thing that had a red dragon's heart running a forge. Yeah, totally. We had a kaiju fight, dragon versus dragon. Amazing, so much fun. We then went and killed the god after I accidentally insulted a god and got cursed for a little while. Not a big deal. Um, but it was a lot of fun. Now, I will say that the way that the fight with the god happened after going through the trials, and then all of a sudden it was like, bam, there, without really any kind of warning, we're trying to get out and we're doing the thing. That felt weird and awkward.
See, you guys fought the god at two different places, too. The first party, they fought it back in Grimskale, back in her bedroom, back when you were another 2 levels earlier. And that's why, for you guys, I moved that fight to where it was there. Where that's one of the locations that you could fight her, is in that thing, but it's a guaranteed fight in Grimskale. But I moved that, I displaced that back on your playthrough because everyone walked away from the table that night saying that was the most unfun fight I've ever had because of the mechanics of it at that level.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, it is a wonderful fight when it's at the right level.
I will say, when like looking at it from a stat block wise, multi-phase boss fight, really, really fun. I really like it as a concept. Because of where it happened in the story, it did not feel great.
For us, it happened in a weird thing because we had this like crazy. We were trying to shove this crazy huge creature that turned by a druid and like
The walrus, yeah.
So we're literally trying to save a fucking walrus. So we're shoving a walrus up this fucking hole. By the way, we used like enlarge reduce, so we only have a small amount of time. We're shoving the walrus up.
I
and then
forgot
all of a
about
sudden,
that.
Oral comes down. We're like, what the fuck? And then the walrus gets stuck. We finally get the walrus through. But then the rest of us are trying to get up. We're fighting a boss. We're all like, it's weird. And then we end up still fighting in a hallway. And that's when I end up shooting a god in her face. Still kind of feel bad about that, except it was Pandora. And you know what they say about opening up Pandora's box. But
We'd make the walrus our god.
Yeah,
we did start worshiping the walrus.
We did start worshiping the walrus.
Oh, I don't even remember what we did with the walrus. I think we just let it go.
Yeah, you let him go.
He's a nice guy.
No. The walrus became friends with the whale.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yep.
Yeah. So we did that, and then so then we decided to go on all these other adventures. And I think, per the DM, we're the only ones that got a happy ending out of doing the continuing adventures, because there's more you can do, or you can choose to end the book right there. And we decided to keep going, but he warned us. And we're like, no. We're going to do this. We're going to do it. So we did it. We did it all. And at the end, and even though he has not been saying very much, the character that is here at the bottom with me, with Jeremy, is with me, and he had to leave the campaign and due to work, but we did not forget about him. And at the end of the campaign, he had been searching for certain knowledge and things like that. And we had the crazy girl that wanted like the globe and the talking globe and everything. Mr. What was the name?
Yeah. So it was Valen Harple and Professor Scont.
Professor Scott, yes. So we got to the thing, and we're at the very end, and we've got everything there. And I'm trying really not to give away too many spoilers here, but because I hate doing that. So we're in the fight, and it all ends, and she goes to pick up a certain scroll. Based on the roleplay through the entire game, I literally pulled out my gun and shot her hand off. Why? Because he didn't trust her. He knew that she was going to use it possibly for evil. So I shot her hand off and saved the scroll for him. Oh no, we destroyed it on the anvil. We saved the staff for him. through Vrask. Like, we did all this stuff, and basically just
So
took care of all the other stuff. And we're like, nah, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to put this away. We're going to do this. We're going to destroy that because it's evil. Nobody needs to summon a Tarask. Nobody needs that power. And
So funny
we're
you
gonna go
say
have a
that.
nice day.
funny you say that. As per usual, I'm the reason why our group didn't have a happy ending. Because Diocles had been brought back to life from his deity. He's a warlock. Just so I could play Diocles again, because I had cycled through characters. And we're
Did you die that much?
well, so it was partially me dying, and then also I had to pick up a factory job for a while, and I had to leave the campaign for a bit and then come back.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Diocles comes back, and where he had like the hole from the Mammoth Tusk, there's just shadow stuff. His deity didn't fix him; it just put life back into him.
We
And
chose to ignore it. We were
they literally never addressed it. They're like, "Oh, that's weird," and it just kept going.
that's Diocles.
It seems a little rude on your deity's part, like as a warlock pact. Like if you're gonna bring him
So
back,
Diocles' deity was known as the Many-Faced One. He's an eldritch god whose thing is stealing the gifts of other gods by putting on their face and pretending to be them and getting the gifts from their followers and then just fucking off the gifts.
Pretty sick.
So, but Diocles, heart of gold, dumb of ass, he saw the scroll. We read this thing talking about like eating, and I looked to the players who are currently at the table. We actually had a few people missing that day, and I go, Diocles thinks this is a challenge. He is going to cast from the scroll. He is going to summon the creature here. I, as a player, know this is probably TBK. I am willing to have Diocles instead think this is a challenge and eat the scroll. If you want me to not summon the Tarask. And the players were like, no, we're just going to try and stop him in game. They couldn't stop him.
The dice tell a story.
The dice told a story. He didn't get stopped. Tarask got summoned. TPK.
It wasn't even a TPK. It was a TWK, Total World Kill at that point.
Yeah.
My first one as a DM, which was interesting. But yeah, that was so the way the book has 3, I believe, canonical endings. The one when you kill Oral and free the town, but you can get that all the way as early as Grimskale.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get your ending at that point. But then you can continue on in the campaign, going further on into the next part. And at that point, the only endings you can get is summoning the Tarask and killing the world, or going back in time to and setting the Netherese Empire back as the dominant world power. That's the other ending for the time loop stuff that they were trying to push for you.
which we didn't do any of that.
No.
We were just like, nope, we're gonna destroy that on the anvil with the hammer, and we're gonna give the staff to Jeremy's character because he knows what to do with magic and he's looking for that. We even gave him the book. Like, we're just like, yeah, you're gonna have all that. And
So the one thing that I really liked, that aside from the endings, because the endings are what they are, it is what it is. The one thing that I did like, it was actually before we even started playing, was the secrets that each character got. So before we wrap it up, that was one thing that I wanted to express. Icewind Dale did something really cool, which had a secret between the DM and the player, and that secret had actual in-game consequences to how your character had to play during the game.
The chest burster was... I love that one.
Yeah. So my character's secret was she was saved by the Ice Maiden when she was a baby. And so my character had the ability to... She couldn't get cold. Like, she didn't get any cold damage. It was really, really fun. But in doing so, my character thought that the Ice Maiden wasn't evil, that she was actually, like, a good guy. And so my character played through this game with that in mind and be like, no, they all think that they think she's evil, but she's not. I know she's not. She saved me. So, like, having to role play with that secret in mind and the other players not know it, just me and the DM, made it a little challenging, but it made it a lot more fun in a role-playing aspect. So gameplay rules aside and like how the levels were and how the battles were, there was a lot of really cool aspects that the game did incorporate, and I think that was one of them.
Yeah, like with the secrets thing, I will say too, one of my favorite moments with Spunk Vinegar wasn't crawling into the orifice of a creature. It was we were being beset by Yetis. Everybody's like, we're too low of a level. We're going to die. And then Spunk Vinegar just steps out, tiny little kobold, and starts yelling at the Yetis in Yeti.
That was
yeah.
incredible.
Because his secret was he was raised by Yetis.
But see, on that aspect, as a player, I got a secret that never came into play.
Yeah, Diocles' secret was just a stone that could summon orcs.
Mine was something about a lost. I think it was the baby of a lost king or something like that, which sort of fit in with his backstory because he got left on the front porch of a gnome and a human.
Yeah.
Well, hence how he learned how to make guns between a gnome and a human. Because blowing shit up and
humans, hand in hand.
Yeah,
arson.
Well, actually, yeah, it was actually all about the mom. The mom was the one that designed the guns. But anyways, but yeah, no, it never came into play, and there was nothing for it. And it was the second time I did a one shot, an Icewind Dale one shot prior to joining into Ken's games, and we also had to pick a secret, and it never came into play.
Right.
It's very pointless, and my secret also seemed very pointless because it never came into play. Not because he didn't bring it into play, because it didn't seem like there was anything that played into it. There was nothing there. Like
there are a couple secrets that are just this is a filler for on a random roll chart.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's entirely dependent on role play if it comes into play or not.
Yeah, you could have. There's several secrets that I passed up on because they just didn't make sense either for my character or because it seemed not likely that I could role play it in a certain way that would make it important to the game.
So I guess
I
technically my daughter is royalty now. My daughter's royalty.
Technically.
Oh God.
With playing with Kelly, I role played mine the whole time, and nobody had any idea what was going on. Nobody.
Yeah, you were playing the long game with yours, and it was a shame that you had to step back from the campaign.
I had the spy one, and I chose the back of the Harper, and so my whole thing was to undermine everything that the Arcane Brotherhood was doing. So I was researching them, taking any kind of research I could get a hold of, and the whole time I was writing everything down in a book and was acting like this gigantic, have no idea, never been outside of college, don't know how to. Matter of fact, they were teaching me how to fight because the first fight we had, I shot Vrask with a ray of frost in the back, and everybody started laughing like, "Hey, no, this is how you do this." And so I rolled with it.
That's the wrong F word, sir. We were teaching you something else, and that is the wrong F word.
No, but I used it as the baseline to tie in, and so we had a moment where it almost came out because the scene later, and this is a spoiler, we get the book, the Codicil White, and it was 45 minutes of role play because I did something that the characters in the party had never seen, because I trusted everybody and worked with everybody. I wanted to make sure that everybody's stuff was working and kind of focused on all that. And then something happened, and I was so concerned that Valen would get the book, and they actually asked me under a Zone of Truth spell, and I'm like, hey, I'll just do this. And somebody asked me the way that they worded the question. I didn't have to give it away. I just, I said I trust everybody in the group. Well, they wondered why I wanted the book so bad. Well, for one, it was keeping Vrask from going nuts and attacking us again because he almost beat the crap out of the whole party. And so I'm like, no, let me read it because I think I can at least control the magic enough where it doesn't spill out into whatever's going on. And if something happens to me, putting me down is no challenge for you guys. Where the rest of you, could be bad. So I was just
long haul secret. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what he's talking about in that role play, it was between myself, him, and Verask. So the three of us were all focused on this book because all of a sudden he acted out of character from what he normally would do.
Right.
Verask also, I think,
He
wasn't
also
under-
he
wasn't
he had
under a thing?
yeah he had a compulsion on him.
Right. So then we had that, or the compulsion was later. It was one of the two because we got it decided between the.
Oh, he had a madness. That was it. He had a
Yeah.
madness where he wouldn't trust anyone.
Yeah. So
What?
so there was this point of our role play, and we are just like, it almost came to blows. Like, I was literally pulling gun out, and I was getting ready to shoot the book out of whoever's hand was gonna like there was some strong.
I was ready
things.
to teleport out. I was ready
And
to literally
So
teleport
we're
out.
going at this, and we're going at it, then the zone of truth comes down, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, that sounds good. And then Ken goes, okay, with that, we're going to take a break. And he stops, he's like, all right, are you guys okay? Like, seriously, like, I had to stop that because I thought you guys were getting really mad. We're like, what? No. We were we were pure role-playing at that moment. Was literally all of our characters and what they were doing. And that was between myself, him, and Verask, which I hoped he was going to be here, but Trevor's not here. And it was absolutely amazing. It was one of the highlights of my role-playing D&D life, was that moment, because it was so good. It felt like you were right there, you're role-playing, you're in there, everybody has bought in because they think you're about to fight. Well, if they think you're about to fight, your role-playing is that good. And
Oh, yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
say that that's a sign of a really good DM. So anybody who's listening or anybody who's watching, you need to know that if your DM checks on you, that's a good DM, and you keep them and you don't let them go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
You need to understand that
true.
when things get heated or things can seem like maybe they get uncomfortable, if your DM actively checks on you as a player, don't let go.
Yeah, it's really important too, because like and I know this is not exactly Icewind Dale related. We're taking a small aside here, but I've been running Heckna for 2 groups now. One of them being Ken and Amber and a few others. But in the other group, we had a situation where a character died, an NPC died, that the whole party was in love with, including one of the characters was dating in game. And like as we came to a break, I checked in with people, and it was only once I checked in that somebody realized that they weren't okay. If you're new to DMing, learn to check in with your players. If you're not new to DMing and you don't check in with your players after high emotion things, do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Do it.
That's something I'm actually planning on making these sort of a regular thing on the channel. Just sort of like a. If you guys are paying attention to the Twitch stream, I pulled up Tailspire because I couldn't find a little fire, and I got a little fire elemental in the corner of the screen for a little our little fireside chat. Just
keeping us all warm.
But so I'm planning on making these things sort of a regular thing, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about in one of the upcoming ones is DM safety tools. A lot of these books can be quite heavy, quite like just emotionally
Trigger
draining.
inducing, I would say.
Yeah, and especially like certain parts of books, like Tomb of Annihilation right now. We talked about it a little ago. Disintegrating Fountain. Literally a character pulled a character out of the fountain and his head was missing. Like, and just the way things work, that's not a character that would have been mentally the player, yes, character, no. And just between roleplay stuff like that, you have to check. You have to have those safety nets.
And even before gameplay, like
Yes.
not even just like mid gameplay. I think it's a really wise decision as a DM. And Ken does it every game, and Jask does it every game. Sit down, what are we comfortable with, what is the table ready to take on, and what can't they do.
Even with groups that I've played with for years, like you guys, every book I still ask you, all right, has anything changed?
Yep.
Yeah, because you never know, like, if something's
Yeah.
some personal life and so on. I will also add, as far as the head disintegration happened, there was somebody in the chat, my friend, who said, "Hey, go ahead and dip your head in. Obviously, you will revert back to normal. It should not be an
Yeah.
issue."
I shooketh the chat that night.
She was like, she felt so bad when
That's
he
a
came up
responsibility
headless.
feeling.
But then she was like, "No, but it should be okay because they can bring him back." She didn't realize the rules of the game, and the situation, and everything, and I got text messages later, and they were horrified at what they did. This is also the same person that may have assumed a certain gender when they said not to objectify me. But anyways, it was that same meme.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, the new follower. Thank you much.
Oh, hey. Who's the new follower?
Amber's Heart Song. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hey, I got a question with this book, particular Icewind Dale. Do you guys feel like you were talking earlier? I read through it before I ever ran it. I ran it a couple times before I ever played it, and I literally had two different groups of people, and it was a hot mess. Like it was a train wreck.
There was
it just felt like it was three different stories, and they were completely like disjunct from whatever. It's like you had to take one and then go either one tangent, another tangent, or whatever. And I was like the Squidmorph thing, I completely threw out because I was like, in order to write something in for like this kind of a style when you start out, it's like I would have had to be on something because it just seemed like way out of left field. Like it made sense to be there, and then all of a sudden it was the time travel thing. I mean, they threw out little bits of history or whatever, but I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Like it made no sense.
My thing is there just wasn't any good transitions between those arcs. And they lured a lot of people in with the Drizzt lore. Like, hey, this is Icewind Dale. Here's this. And they even said
very little of it came into play.
They said in the advertisement, this is the home of Drizzt. These are the home of these novels. And yes, it will be playing a part in the story, and it did. Well, sort of. It was like
the Elk and a couple of things like that.
There were nods, but it wasn't what they promised.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest gripe with this book is just the transitions. I think if they simply made it into, say, a Tales of the Yawning Portal style, or one of those books that come in like the adventure chunks, I think this would run incredibly smoothly. So you have like the first part of the book where you're defending the 10 towns against the dragon attack. That would be a solid chunk. Then you have the next chunk, which would be going to Grimskale and all of that stuff.
Very similar to, like you said, with Waterdeep Dragon Heist. You could do, Icewind Dale, and then followed by Rime of the Frost Maiden, and then followed by whatever that dungeon was called. I forget the name of it.
The Caves of Hunger.
Yeah, the Caves of Hunger.
Yeah.
So, I would say, by the way, just as a lore aspect, because somebody brought that up, I would consider myself a casual D&D player, I think, because I go into lore when it associates with the character that I'm building, i.e., put in Bahamut.
Yeah.
That's why I know what his favorite foods are, because it goes into my character. Outside of that, I wouldn't know anything about Drizzt and why it's being associated with Icewind Dale. I have no idea. I wanted to play it because it seemed like a really cool adventure, and I asked my DM that I was already in another game if I could play a gunslinger, and he said yes. And I said, hell yeah, I'm in. So I made a cool, fun, non-tragic, backstory with emotionally available parents that I sent letters to, everything, and
And I still messed with
adopted parents, and yeah, I still have a child, and a wife. Well, I mean, I added that in, but I mean, it wasn't really tragic though.
Yeah.
Just tragic for the second wife, because now she knows that my first wife is still alive with my baby. But anyways, there's that trailer park.
So there's a lot of stuff that I liked in the campaign with the nods. And I know you guys have been doing this for a little bit, so hopefully I don't overlap too much. I'm just gonna throw a couple of little thoughts on it. But they did a lot of nods. Yeah, they did a lot of nods for old Icewind Dale. The Drist series, Companions of the Hall. They did a lot of nods for that. I have to look away from Discord because whenever I talk in Discord, my little avatar is just jiggling his butt.
It really is.
It's really distracting. Like, it only does it when I talk. It's really distracting. On Twitch, it's not doing that. But anyway, but the the backstory, and then Ken did a very good job, and like he knew that I was a big fan of the Drist series, so he very often would like find little things to tie in, especially with my character's main backstory.
Was the Companions of the Hall?
Yeah, it literally was. My character was, and I took it to a dark place because that's half of this campaign. It was just kind of like, subtle darkness in a lot of backstories. But I took it to a dark place, and this character didn't have a personality of their own, so they mimicked that of all of the Companions of the Hall, obsessively so. So I would occasionally role play as one of the characters, and it didn't come into play a lot, but it was there, and it was fun to be able to do that.
Were you a Kenku by any chance? Just out of curiosity.
No, I was actually a changeling, so I could literally shapeshift into the likeness of those characters.
You would cosplay them.
I would cosplay them. And one of the backstory bits that Ken gave me was, at one point, I met Drist through like some sort of interaction. There was a battle somewhere.
Yeah, that's actually one of the secrets.
So I think we had the option to get two, and that was one of them for me. So I met Drist, and I had a souvenir, which was a tear off his cloak. So again, the obsessive part comes in. It was my little token. He just tore his cloak on something, and I took it. The other part was the slod. I don't know if you guys got a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, the chest burster. Yeah.
We
Did
briefly
you talk about
the
resolution of that and how it all went
No,
down?
we just mentioned that it existed.
Okay, so that was my secret, was the slot, the chest burster. And, Ken goes, okay, well, it's up to you whether or not you want to tell people about this and how you want to role play it in. I played dumb. My character played dumb with it, like he didn't understand what a slot was kind of thing, and then learned later on. And then mentioned it after he started getting chest pains, like, oh, hey, we should probably look into this. But it didn't come up until it was, like, critical. And by the time it became critical, we were in the middle of like some sort of interaction with a dungeon, and there was a bunch of baddies beneath us, and there was
We were getting to the Dwarven Keep.
Yeah, it was this Dwarven Keep that we were in the middle of raiding or something, and we had to do emergency surgery to get the slot out. So I think you guys like literally cracked open my character's chest with an axe or something.
Yeah, and that
did a bunch of healing.
That was a completely rewritten encounter too, because the book specifically states at certain parts to kill the character with the chest burster for shock and awe for the rest of the players. Period. Kill that player. Chest burster comes out, they're dead. Like,
so if you get that secret, your character's just dead no matter what.
Unless you can get it fixed before it happens.
Yes, and there isn't the means to do that in Icewind Dale.
There's like a time limit on it too, but you have to like keep track of it. And I think that one happened early because I was keeping track of it.
Yeah, it hit the first checkpoint for that one where you're in Zartodok's the Sunblight Citadel, and you enter a room and it literally says, "Hey, nothing's happened for a hot minute. Explode their chest for shock value for the rest of the party."
Just troll a lol.
Yeah, and writing like that, that's like I gave them the skill checks and stuff like that. Hey, see if you can save this character with the magical healing. colossal wounds, stuff like that. See if you
Spare
can.
the dying,
Yeah.
or things like that.
I will say, I did really like that we didn't have to do this on Blight Citadel because we took that slot that we just took out of his chest,
Yep.
we put it in the elevator shaft and put it down into the Sunblight Citadel
And lock the door.
and locked the door.
And
See-
describe why that's important for those who don't know what a slot is.
Sloths reproduce by attacking other things. Every time they claw you, you've been impregnated.
Yeah, we were like, this is a them problem now.
And don't they grow super
Yes.
fast?
Mm-hmm.
Like they mature like in
They're
the
beings
blink
literally
of an eye.
they're literally beings of chaos. They come from the elemental chaos.
Yeah.
So as
So-
soon as it's born, in a matter of moments, it will grow to full size, or
Yeah.
will keep growing.
Yeah, and it's an
like
encounter
it's
that
being reinflated.
and it's an encounter at that level that the players wouldn't be able to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
we
remainder.
just took over Sunlight Citadel. We renamed it, and we took out all the.
Nah, we caused an actual infestation in the Underdark.
What do we
Like-
call it? I think we called it Dragon.
Dragon
Dragon's
Heart,
Forge?
or yeah, something like
Dragon
that.
Heart's Forge. I think. Yeah. No. We took it over. We literally but we also had stupid money.
Yeah.
We chose
So because your group, you found a way to break the economy in this one. You actually found the Lost Spire of Netheril, I believe. You found a magical table that any 5-foot cube that you tried to make in it as an illusion, you could make a check and it would become permanent, or semi-permanent, or something like that. So you thought for a while, and I had to do DM foo on Google for a while, because you guys decided to make an entire block worth 5-foot cube worth of diamonds as an illusion, and then you
Yes,
sold
we
it
did.
before the illusion expired.
Major inflation.
Oh,
The entire
Major depreciation too.
oh,
the
absolutely.
entire group ended up having 86,000 worth of gold. Every single player that was there, we had that, and then poor Diamond Merchant.
Yeah, I had to look up diamond costs in real life, translate them to the gold cost. Like, I'm sitting there doing this on the fly because I had no idea that they were like, oh, they're gonna make a suit of armor, they're gonna make something like for them. Nope.
Mechanical in the game, maybe.
It took an hour. So this is something very similar to something that happened in our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, where we had to it was a lot of math. This took about an hour to almost an hour and a half, seeing something that happened in there, where we were talking about, okay, do we do this? We got to look up how big is this diamond? How much does it weigh? What is it worth? Do we say that it's cut, uncut? What do we do? And then what we came out to was basically little tiny diamonds, all within this 5-foot cube.
So you guys could transport it.
Yes, because
A 5-foot
diamond.
cube of diamond would have been.
we couldn't get it out of the room. So we did this instead, and then then he smartly gave us a time limit. We split the party. The one time that it works out, we split the party.
Uh,
A lot about the two, how different groups play, because we were very much what did we call ourselves? Elements of efficiency, or something like that. Our
That's the name.
We
didn't even
craved
get
the
name.
thrill of efficiency.
yeah,
we
it-
craved the thrill.
to the point where you guys found the nuclear bomb essentially that's hidden in the book.
I wanted to talk about this, so that's perfect.
So
Yeah.
the thing that when we're looking at Icewind Dale is, with any other content book, this is going to be across the board. You are going to have different groups play different styles,
Especially when it's a sandbox.
especially when it's a
Or
sandbox. And
snowbox in this one.
you had people who were really into the nuances of the world and the minutia of the world, and going in and doing all the small stuff, and then you had groups like us who were flying through, fists out, guns blazing, and just getting from point A to point B the fastest we could.
So, are you trying to say that you were murder hobos? You can just say that if you want.
No, we weren't.
Actually,
murder
we
hobos.
weren't.
No, but it was
They got
definitely,
to point A to C without touching B.
yeah. I think when we look at games like these hardcover stories, we have to go in it as DMs, because again, we're thinking as DMs. The top three here is how are my different groups going to play this? Because it's always going to be different, no matter what. Just across the board, it's always going to be different. I could sit at your table and it's gonna be wildly different than what I would play at Jask's table. I think it just
So I have a
how
question
it
on
goes.
that, because this is going to a DM and to a player, and well, to all of you. So is that due to how a character is built? Is that due to how all of the characters are built? Is this due
So-
to player influence? Or is this due to, because let's just say you have a new person dropped into it and maybe they don't know and they're bringing in that new flavor player that we all love because they think out, they don't just think outside the box, they think outside the box, which is what I was when I first became a player. You just like, wait, can I do this? And they're like,
You can do that.
Technically.
I think there's,
But it's
there's
like-
a little
You
bit
can
of both.
certainly try.
Right.
Okay.
It's got to be a little bit of both. We had built characters who, you know, we put a lot of thought into them for Icewind Dale. But I also think that, like, a lot of it is player dynamic, a lot of it is character dynamic. But more than that, it's the flow of the game. Like, we started off as Session 0. We had no idea that that's how our characters were going to play with Session 0.
No
Session
character
1
survives contact with the characters.
Right. So, like, we started Session 1. We didn't know we were going to be in it for the thrill of efficiency. We were just like, this is
That's just how
Snowman.
it
Like,
happened.
let's just do this.
And I will say, what changes the stories being told so much between things is definitely the players more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it only recently got so highlighted for me, the difference in playstyles. Because I have a group that I've been running for like 2 or 3 years now, and we will have whole sessions that are just them role playing, and I'm here to listen. And then recently in our Monday games, it was mentioned that we might be playing too much. I felt like we weren't getting enough roleplay time. I felt starved for the roleplay time. I felt like characters were getting, like certain character interactions were just getting brushed by because we're in a go, next thing, with only a little bit of roleplay time before we're pushed to go to the next thing. And so like, even in our Thursday games, by the way, I've always felt like we don't get a whole lot of roleplay time because of the sessions I'm used to being in. Like, recently, we had a Heckna game on my Saturday games. It was about 4 hours, 30 minutes of which was me getting, like, actual story stuff out, and the rest was the players interacting and doing, like, character building, roleplay.
And sometimes that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like, so for, and I think that's new groups and very veteran groups are prone to doing that because the new groups, they're feeling things out, and the veteran groups are like, no, I want to flush this out. And then you got the in-betweens where they've been doing this, maybe like our group, where we've been doing this on Thursdays for, 2 years now almost?
More than.
About
More
3
than-
years.
Yeah.
About 3 years now.
So we've been doing this since the beginning of, we're going on 3 years. So because
Yeah.
we started in the beginning of COVID.
We
So
started
Before
before
that,
COVID
yeah.
in person.
Yes.
And then COVID.
I think we all met in like October, November of 2019,
Yeah.
and then 2020, and then COVID. So we'd only been playing together for a few months, but we've been playing at least remotely since then. And we've been
Yep.
doing this, like every Thursday, every other Thursday.
Mhm.
And we've gotten to a level of just like, we know how each person plays.
Yeah.
We jive, and we go. We get it. I feel like we just, not subconsciously, but
Instinctually.
subtly, instinctually,
Yeah.
like we get how the characters are played. We see how you're trying to express this character.
Yep.
That's why there's not so much like diving into it and feeling it out, because we already get how you're trying to describe it. So we're like, yes, we understand, and then we just go and do things. Hence, we just crave the thrill of efficiency because we just could.
I will say, Icewind Dale did feel rushed only because I think at a certain point we were all ready to get through it.
Yeah, there was a certain point where we all had said that we were done with it, but we wanted to finish the story. I remember having that conversation. But also, I've been seeing Kelly try to say something for like a
sorry.
Yeah,
minute.
go ahead.
Because I want everybody else to finish their thoughts because it also influences what I'm about to say.
Mhm.
So, yes, actually to both. Yes, at some point, Icewind Dale, I think, if I had played with you guys, I think, yes, I would have wanted to end. But Ken did this really great job of saying, hey, we're approaching a point. We can choose to end at this point, or if you choose, we can progress to another stop point and then another stop point. If you do, I want to warn you, there is the possibility of an ending not being as great as what you have right here. I'm trying not to sneeze right now.
You're totally fine.
While you're trying to sneeze, we got a similar option. We still wanted to try out the dungeon.
Right, and that's
Yeah, it was the dungeon that made us get to that point of we should probably wrap this up.
That wasn't actually what we did. It was more along the lines of we had told her that we were going to find, or we were going to do this, we were going to do that. Plus, also, there were some other things between players. We wanted to craft and do some things. We decided to continue on. Now, obviously, we did some great, fantastical things, and they were great, and we blew stuff up, and it ended happily.
Being that you were the second round and we were the play testers.
Well, no, we were technically actually the third round.
Yeah.
So at that point, like Ken had already like navigated how well to tell that story and then delivered it to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
So-
a lot of crash
and-
and burning as DMing in this book.
Yeah.
And honestly, I actually had something else to say, and I completely lost my thought.
The whole like the Arbitrus encounter with the characters like we had, I was running this. I actually ran it twice, and like if you're not careful and the players don't actually work together, it just goes bad. Well, one of the characters reacted to the wizard on Arbitrus's back and tried to see if it was alive or whatever, and reacted to the point where they thought it was a zombie and went and cut the head off. And so it killed the whole party because it had the head rolled down the dragon's back, and the dragon could feel it. It's blind, can't see. Well, and the character insisted. Matter of fact, I pulled a DM moment that I'm sure you guys have all done. The whole, are you sure you want to do that?
Mhm.
Oh, wait, are you
Yep.
sure you want to do that? And it was like that group or whatever, they're like, oh, well, we'll just build new characters. So, but like the one thing that I thought was neat about the book is if you really wanted to focus on the 10 town stuff, you could do all the 10 town stuff and just focus on the Dugart and building the dragon and that kind of stuff. And really, if you wanted to go to the other island to deal with magic, but there was characters that didn't even care if it was winning. They just didn't care. They were more consumed about cleaning up 10 towns and, having, places to trade or whatever. Like,
Or 2 towns, depending on how you played it.
yeah.
Oh God.
Oops. What was? Oh man.
So actually, I don't want to cut anyone off here, but we are having to reach the end here because I do have to work early in the morning.
Yep.
I feel you.
But I do plan on making this a common thing here on the channel. It might not be a book review every time. We might just do the book reviews every time we finish a book on the channel. But having these conversations, because this has been a blast tonight, having these reminiscing of characters, talking about things.
Ellie's going to explode.
There you go.
Can you give me 1 second?
Yes.
So, because Jasket literally just gave me my thought process back, thankfully, because I sent it over to him. It actually has to do with about roleplay lengths and how they can or cannot derail the forward momentum of a campaign, and how that sometimes I feel the DM does have to insert themselves, whether it is through just a random rolling of dice
Yep.
to forward move, because players, we can get stuck, and that's through everybody. We get associated with a door, we get associated with a chair,
The chair in the middle of a room.
why is this door not opening? Why is this piece of glass here and it is not busting open? Whatever it is, we get associated with that one thing and role play, and then we move on or whatever, or we don't move on. And I feel it's only happened a couple of times that I can think of where we get stuck in quicksand. And we are just like here, and we're slowly drowning in our own role play, and we just don't get pulled out of it, or we don't pull ourselves out of it, I guess really is the main thing, because we lose sight of what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, well, we're going to refer to myself right now. When you drink a little too much and you tend to keep talking in the same circle over and over and over. And
Yeah, but like, my thing is the difference between being stuck in those circles, right? Of like, there's a chair in the room. Why is it in this room? And exploring character backstories.
Yes, there is getting stuck at a crystalline window for an hour and a half over having a character building.
that's different. I
Yes.
think that's completely different. I think that exploring those backstories and finding out, even scratching at the hint of why this character is who they are and so on, or maybe why this character is starting to get a little offended at being called not Godric repeatedly when they were specifically said they were not replacing them, and then had a little bit of a backlash in that personality because they kept being called this way, and they are not coming in to fill in for this person, and they're very tired of being that way, and then you get the in character like, all right, cool, well, I'm gonna go do this, good luck with that, and I'm out.
We've had characters fall in love throughout a campaign. We've had characters like recognize like lifelong friendships. But I think it all is about playing D&D, right? Like that's the whole thing. Role playing is a team effort through the DM and the players.
It's a collaborative story.
It is a collaborative story, which is why we love it.
But Ken has been trying to end this for like 10 minutes.
I know. Right. I'm like, wrapped it up. There it is. There's a bow.
That's a good thing to end on.
Ken wanted to end this 40 minutes ago. But
yes. But we've been having
days.
So let's just keep talking and hold Ken hostage. You can sleep when you're dead.
It'll be
after a point. It just ends.
It'll be a coffee day tomorrow. I only have to work 7 hours.
It's Saturday. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Let me know
is.
when you do this again. I would love to do
that.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Also, if you want to hear something very similar to this, I know you've seen him. He was actually a first chat in here. Dokuro Jim. He has a great podcast, 2 DMs, 1 podcast with Jask. Actually, yeah. You can check that out. You can also, if you're new to the channel, thank you Undead Bun for following. You can check me out on startplaying.games. I have a new campaign starting on Mondays, starting soon. Also, you can
always be nice to fellow human. He has been one of our most active chat users ever. He's amazing, and he was like complete random.
Yeah, he just showed up out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Hey.
And he brought other people too, so fellow human, amazing, giving you a shout out. I don't even know if you're in the chat right now.
Thank you, Warriors Dogma, for following. Thank you. All right, guys, this is where we are going to end for the night. Please check out all the links in the bios, the link tree, stuff like that. If you'd like to support the channel, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to check out our older videos, check out YouTube. And now some of our videos are now starting to save to Twitch, so you can check it out there too. Everyone, thank you so much, and have such a great night. This has been a blast. Thank you all of you guys who have been here for